This meeting is being recorded.
Today is the first MAI webinar for 2019. Happy New Year to all of you who have joined us for today's session, How to Attract and Nurture the Local Authors You Want by Joy Solina. It is exciting to see 39 global friends from 16 countries sign up for this webinar.
39.
Welcome. 39, yes.
Wow.
From 16 countries. My name is Ramon Rocha, sending you greetings from MAI headquarters in Carl Stream, Illinois. We have both the Q&A and the chat windows available for you to ask your questions. Feel free to use either of them. We'll entertain questions towards the end of our session. Publishing translations of books by authors from the West is helpful to the global church. In fact, translated books sell well. But somehow, sometimes, things and thoughts get lost in translation. Books written in your own heart language, in your own context, with an understanding of your country's history and background by homegrown writers would resonate better with your local readers. Do you agree? So how do you attract and nurture the local authors you want? Our speaker this morning or this evening is Ms. Joy Solina. She's the Vice President of Publishing at Church Strengthening Ministries in the Philippines. Joy has been serving at CSM's editorial department for the past 18 years. Under her leadership, she and her staff has handled 50 local book authors so far. So we're very happy to have Joy Solina lead us in our webinar today. Thank you, Joy, for making yourself available. Please start your presentation and greet them.
Hi, everyone. It's a great surprise for me to know that you're that many and you're from 16 countries. And my name is Joy Solina of CSM Publishing from the Philippines. This is I was introduced by Ramon Rocha. And welcome to this webinar. We consider local authors as diamonds in the rough that publishers can make into jewels when the process is planned well with the full support of the whole company and not just the editorial team. I'm honored to share with you in this webinar what we have learned about attracting and nurturing the local authors that you want. The only reason I chose the title Diamonds in the Rough, Jewels in the Making is my use of the expression diamond in the rough in relation to local authors. I also like the visual impact that diamonds create in my PowerPoint. When we say that a person is a diamond in the rough, we mean that he or she has potential or talent, but lacks training or polish. And when we apply the phrase to local authors, we can consider them as diamonds in the rough because they have the potential to become high-quality jewels when they are handled by a good publisher. Would you like to be that kind of publisher? I would also limit my talk to authors we want to invite to write for us and to nonfiction because CSM does not publish fiction. But if you're interested in writing or publishing fiction, I do hope you can still learn from what I have to say. And because my talk is limited to 45 minutes, I have shortened my original talk from 5 to 3 parts. Oh, I'm sorry. There. The message is the key. Attract the local authors you want strategically and nurture them diligently. I hope to cover all 3 parts with about 15 minutes left for a question and answer time. So my first point, the message is the key. is based on the premise of the advantages of local over international and the difference between author and writer. So let's first discuss local versus international. Is there a need for local authors in your country? Is there a market for them? The fact that you're in this webinar means that you're willing to invest in local authors. But what do people in your country think of local authors? If you are publishing both local and international authors, what is the price disparity, or how big is the difference in their pricing? Okay, I'll let you think for a minute. In the Christian publishing industry in my country, international authors are the best-selling authors who write in English, and they're usually American. They used to dominate the shelves in our bookstores, but that is slowly changing because more and more publishers are willing to invest in local authors. Now, can you cite some advantages in having local authors based on your publishing experience? Here is my list of advantages of local authors over international authors. They speak the language of the reader. There's no need to contextualize. They're the top salespersons of their books, and there is continuing interaction. So let's discuss each one briefly. Speak the language of the reader. Local authors communicate better because they know how to express their ideas in the language that their countrymen or their readers understand. They know how their readers think and process concepts. Now, those of you who have done or handled translations know what I'm talking about. No need to contextualize. Whether this be illustrations, examples, or jokes, local authors bring across an idea much faster than if an international author were translated. Local authors don't have to look for equivalence in the culture of their readers because they're in the same culture. And they're the top salespersons for their books. Local authors are the best people to sell their books wherever they go. Especially if your culture is personality-driven, a popular author assures you of a captured market, their followers or their networks. They are also the best promoters of your company. And there is continuing interaction. Aside from your being able to meet local authors in person, unless they're based overseas, and work closely with them on their manuscripts, you can keep on interacting with them even after their books are published because they're easily accessible and more than willing to keep in touch with you, especially if they like you or your company alike. There may be more advantages you can think of, but these four are enough reasons for me to invest in local authors. Now let's talk about authors versus writers. Is there a difference between the two? Yes. Writers can be authors, but authors need not be writers. Surprise? You might say, isn't an author a writer? After all, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary app defines an author as a person who has written something, especially a book or many books. Well, the answer is yes and no. This may sound revolutionary to you or contradictory to what you have been taught or believed in all your life. But it is the key to how you can recruit new authors for your company. Now, it would be great if you could find good writers who can write books for you. But the truth of the matter is, it's hard to find good writers who can become authors. But there's a way around that. Just give it some thought. Now, who do you think can be an author if that person is not a writer? The other definition of an author is a person who starts or creates something, such as a plan or idea. If we relate this to book publishing, who can be an author? For our purposes then, an author is someone who has a message people need, influences a lot of people, knows other potential authors, and wants to or is ready to leave a legacy. Has a message people need. Do you know people who have a message that is worth publishing for a much larger audience than they can reach otherwise? Where can you find such people? Why would their message make an impact on a lot of people? The message is the key. But aside from the message, look for these other qualities. Influences a lot of people. They may not know how to write or see themselves as writers, but they can influence a lot of people. They usually have a following or have made a name for themselves in their field of expertise. Do you know of such people? Where can you find them? Because of their influence, they can also lead you to more authors. So those other potential authors. Once you do a good job of attracting and nurturing a great author, you can be assured that that author will refer you or recommend you to another potential author or pave the way for you to meet other potential authors. It creates a multiplying effect. Have you promoted something or someone by word of mouth? That's a perfect example of it. But this happens only when you have proven yourself as a publisher who can make authors out of non-writers. But what if you've just started to build your lineup of local authors? How do you convince non-writers or influencers with a great message to write for you? What would motivate them to take on the challenge of writing a book for you? Usually, those who have earned a reputation for themselves will pay attention to you when you bring the fourth point up. Wants to or is ready to leave a legacy. Popular or established speakers and preachers know that they can only speak to so many while they are strong and able. But they would be inclined to agree with you when you point out how many more people they can reach and influence through a book that expresses and preserves their life message even when they're no longer around. It's not really the income they can get from a book that attracts the right people to write for you. Because in the Philippine context, people don't get rich from writing books. It's the intangible rewards of getting published. Leaving a legacy, in short. Now the question remains, how can you make a non-writer write a book? So let's first ask, why don't they or won't they write? Why can't they write? Here are some reasons. They'd rather speak than write. They don't have the time. They don't know how to write or organize their thoughts. They don't know where to begin. It's not financially rewarding for the effort they'll put into it. Or, and this one they'll never tell you, they're afraid of editors. So how do you break down these arguments when you finally get the attention of your would-be author but non-writer? And this is where my boss, like any typical boss, would tell me in Tagalog, gumawa ka ng paraan. In English, find a way. Now let me say at this point that it is crucial, if not critical, that your big boss is 100% behind your effort in attracting and nurturing local authors, because it requires a substantial investment in time, resources, and relationships. And if you are the big boss, then this next part should interest you the most. Before we know whom to pursue to write for us, there are three major things you need to do to lay the groundwork for pursuing the authors you want. Know your target market, bend the rules, and build your credibility. So let me explain each of them. Know your target market. Before you can attract the local authors you want, you need to know who your readers or buyers are. The message of each local author must relate or communicate well to your target market as a publisher. It just makes good stewardship sense. So analyze your 5 W's and 1 H. What are your 5 W's and 1 H? What? Oh, I'm sorry. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay. Who? Who are your readers? Know your demographics, such as age, socioeconomic status, sector of society, etc. Okay, that's the who. And then the what. What? What? What books do they buy? What titles attract them? What are their needs or interests? And then the third W, where? Where do they buy books? Where do they look for books? Where can they find books? The fourth W, when? When do they usually buy or think of buying books? What time of the year? And the fifth W is why? Why do they buy books? Is it for themselves, for personal growth, to give away as gifts, to help them teach others? Why? Why do they buy books? And the 1H is how? How much? How much are they willing to spend for books? Or how much can they afford? Your sales and marketing staff ought to provide this information to help you decide what kind of authors would make a good fit for your company. If your target market is price sensitive, like local churches that have tight budgets, find out the price range that is affordable to them. The price range you can come up with also affect the costs involved in producing your books, especially your editorial process, which leads us to the second thing you ought to consider doing. Bend the rules. Now, those of us who prefer to spend time sweating in front of a laptop rather than on a treadmill would squirm at the mention of the word bend. If you're an editor who loves to go to the gym, you're a rare gem. But when we say bend the rules, what we mean is do something that hasn't been done before. It's not really against the rules to change the way we do things, right? So, what rules have we bent as a company? I will share with you 3 things we did in our rule bending: conversational Tagalog, express lane, and partner authors. Okay. Conversational Tagalog. Because many of our best-selling authors are great speakers or communicators, we wanted to retain the way they sounded to their followers by keeping their language intact. In our country, hardly anyone speaks in straight formal Tagalog or Filipino, the national language, because it's too formal and academic. You only read straight Tagalog in textbooks and government exams. The mix of English and Tagalog, called Taglish, used to be associated with tabloids and gossip magazines, but not anymore. It's now acceptable even in advertising if you want to connect with the general public, whether they are Christian or not. So we came up with our own style sheet for what we call conversational Tagalog. And we did that ahead of the other publishers when we published a best-selling author who is best known for speaking that way. Our translations of selected Gary Chapman and John Maxwell titles are also in conversational Tagalog. Express lane. By the term itself, it means speeding up the normal process of working on a manuscript. We did not require some of our first local authors to go through the rigors of submitting a whole manuscript because they were radio people who could express themselves better when they speak. We had their recorded messages transcribed and worked on the transcriptions, but followed an outline that they created. The message is wholly theirs. We just helped them convert it into a manuscript that was publishable. And we did it in half the time. The year we first did this, our editors, including me, got dizzy from the fast pace, coupled with adjusting to the voice we had to retain by using conversational Tagalog while still maintaining the company's standards of quality and content. The pressure to make it work was intense, but the results were more than satisfying. It was an editorial breakthrough. And lastly, partner authors. We also entered into partnerships with self-published authors looking for a good distributor. This means that their manuscripts don't pass through our editorial process because they assume full control of what they write and how their book will look, including the printer of their choice. We take care of the distribution, sales, and inventory of their stocks, which is a great load off their shoulders. Now, this kind of partnership is very relational and handled by the big boss who closes the deal without much fuss. Sometimes, a partner author later chooses to go under contract with us and follow our editorial process. Partner authors are still considered CSM authors and are treated as part of the CSM family. Now, let me warn you though, that bending the rules has a cost. The new idea could create some initial confusion and resistance from your staff or from you if the new idea came from your boss. Bending the rules will also test your work attitude. Are you teachable enough to learn something new within a limited period of time, such as deadly deadlines? Are you willing to go through the big learning curve period until you get it right? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Because you're trying something foreign to what you're used to doing, you're bound to make mistakes along the way. When you do make a mistake, and you certainly will, are you humble enough to admit your error and make up for it? Bending the rules could also mean losing a staff member or two in the process because they're no longer comfortable with the bending and could work better in another company or career. It will test your relationships too. So pray a lot. Just remember that if you keep doing what you've been doing for many years, you'll become obsolete and eventually lose your market. Another way of putting it would be, think out of the box or somebody else will, but count the cost. The third and last thing you should consider doing is build your credibility. If the local authors that you want are interested in getting published, expect them to be very particular about the publisher's track record or credibility. As shown in the slide, credibility is the quality of being believable or worthy of trust. How credible are you as a publisher in taking care of their message? In other words, the bottom line question is, can I trust you with my message? Now, this part of the attracting process will require some people skills, especially in negotiating, but just bear in mind what they would be looking for in a publisher, which I call goods. Good service, good connections, good distribution record, and good image or makes them look good. Good service. How easy are you to talk to? Can you go out of your way to meet them or provide help for them to come up with a manuscript or to sell their books to their spheres of influence? Do you send a prompt reply to their queries and act upon their requests quickly and professionally? Do you add a personal touch in serving them? Local authors, just like customers, want to be treated well. Good connections. It's who you know that brings results in this industry or ministry. They would like to know who your other local authors are and if they are impressive. So choose your first local authors very carefully because you can cite them as leverage to the next local author you want to attract. Good distribution record. How well have you distributed your current and previous titles? Who are your distribution partners and how widespread are your distribution outlets? How accessible are your titles to the target market of your local authors? And lastly, good image. What is your reputation among other publishers and local authors? What are you known for? Even if you are not the first Christian publisher that comes to their mind, would you be the next one they think of? Do you find means and ways to promote and sell their books? Would they feel proud to become one of your local authors? Can you, as their publisher, make them look good? If you know your target market, are willing to bend the rules or do things differently, and are willing to build your credibility as a publisher of local authors, you can proceed to pursuing the local authors you want. Point number 2, attract the local authors you want strategically. Now, who would make a great first local author that would attract more local authors? We use the following criteria: non-controversial, large following, follow price matrix, and quality standard. Non-controversial. This first author must be non-controversial in faith convictions. It had to be someone generally loved and accepted by the Christian community across the board, meaning all denominations and even non-church people. Large following. This person's popularity should be unquestionable and growing, a kind of Christian celebrity. Follow price matrix. Follow the price matrix sustainable to your target market. The book that this person will author should be priced just right for the target market. And quality standard. The quality standard should equal that of an international title. The book that this person will author should look as good as an international title. Let me share with you our story of how we chose our first local authors. The first local author we sought was Maloy Salungides, whose Pro Tips 5-minute segments on radio were extremely popular with listeners. Her daily morning broadcast gave practical motivational tips with Bible verses for working people. When we published her first book, she had 6 more. It was in conversational Tagalog, or the way she sounded on air, which is a mix of Tagalog and English. And that's the blue book on the slide. Its first print of 5,000 copies was sold out in a matter of months, making it our first local best-selling title. A clamor for an English edition led us to publish it in complete English with a yellow cover and called it the International Edition. Our next best-selling local author, Pastor Ed Lapis, already had a massive following on radio through his daily evening 30-minute program called Day by Day, which is also the name of his church. He has his own editor who works with our staff in producing his books, from conceptualizing, to compiling, to editing, to designing, to printing. We also retain his voice in his books, meaning what you read is the way he sounds when he speaks. Now here's the rest of our advice in how to attract local authors. Take care of 1 or 2, study the trends, and keep improving. Take care of 1 or 2 local authors only. Be strategic when selecting whom to start with. It's okay to start small, just be impressive. Study the trends. Take note of your external factors such as the economy, seasonal bestsellers, the competition, so that you understand the buying behavior of your target market. And keep improving. Learn from your mistakes. Charge it to a very large account called experience. When it costs you money, call it tuition. I learned that from one of our local authors. And when you succeed, outdo yourself the next time. Now, attracting a local author to join you is one thing. Making them stay with you is another. So how do you take care of local authors that you want? This would be the main role of the editor. So point number 3, nurture the local authors you want diligently. Nurture as a noun means the care and attention given to someone or something that is growing or developing. Remember the diamonds in the rough analogy? The nurturing part is the polishing process an author goes through with you. Just like a jeweler holding a piece of rock that has a potential diamond in it, you see in your mind what cutting and polishing you will need to bring out the author's precious message that can become a new book. So value them from the start. What I will share is the overall attitude you need to carry in relating to local authors before, during, and after their books are published. And I call them the 3 B's. B number 1, be professional. We can be friendly and professional at the same time. Although we can skip a step or 2 in formal procedures to put non-writers at ease. we can project professionalism in the way we guide them with their manuscripts. At CSM, all official correspondence regarding a book project is done by email, not on Facebook or SMS or text message or by phone. Why? So that we can retrieve it from our inbox, save it in our PC or flash drive, or print it in black and white. In this way, we avoid miscommunication. Be friendly and helpful, but firm in meeting deadlines too. Take time to craft your letters and responses. Make them brief, direct, and polite. The second B is be sensitive. Local authors have different personalities and temperaments. We Asians are known for feeling our way when dealing with a person. Some are very sensitive to the way you word your feedback or follow-up message. I confess that I had to learn this the hard way because I'm not exactly a diplomatic person. Someone else, like my boss, has to decode the nonverbal cues for me, or teach me to read between the lines before more damage is done. And the third B is be open. Local authors are creative people. Some have great book ideas that will test your openness to new things. You may need to bring them down to earth, like enlighten them on what works in actual production and what doesn't, or simply give them a listening ear. You just might come up with something very interesting and unique in the process. If you protect their image, they will protect yours. I mentioned earlier that local authors want a publisher that makes them look good. And if they already have a solid reputation before they became authors, in a sense, they have entrusted their good name to you to protect as their local authors. So how do you do that? If you're dealing with a local author who is well known or has a large following, you need to make sure no part of the book creates controversy or may draw negative attention and divert the reader from the book's main message. We as editors have to catch those questionable portions like chapter, paragraph, a sentence, or even a word, and find a way to rephrase or tone down or even delete it before the book sees print. Now, you may have to exercise a lot of tact and diplomacy in pointing this out to the author who might not agree with your judgment. Would your readers think well of the author after they read the book? Would you want your company to be known for supporting such a stand? Be a vanguard for the author and your company. A poorly produced book doesn't also speak well for both the author and your company. How can it be poorly produced? Typographical errors, grammatical errors, an unattractive cover design, boring page layout, colors that are off register, weak binding, inaccurate cutting. All these can tarnish the author's image as well as your own. Now, the opposite is also true. When a book is well received and even becomes a bestseller, the author not only looks good but also gains prestige. Readers may not know or bother to know who the publisher is, but your local author will boast about you and highly recommend you to a colleague or a would-be author in search of a publisher. When other potential authors inquire about you, let the nurtured author speak for you and tell them how well you handled him or her. Then the cycle continues. One good author you have attracted and nurtured will bring you more authors to nurture. When this happens again and again, you're now in a position to choose whom to invest in. Here are 18 of our authors whose books were launched in last year's Manila International Book Fair. 5 of them were first-time authors. I have 4 more points to share as our further advice on how to nurture the local authors you want. Flex with the team, give perks to your local authors, prepare to receive polished writers, and develop an author radar. Now, flex with the team. I cannot overemphasize the importance of teamwork. And this involves the whole company, top management, the other departments, and your own staff. This is particularly crucial when you're bending the rules. Everyone should learn to adjust and flex with you. Give perks to your local authors. What can they enjoy as your local authors? You offer them special discounts. Prioritize their orders. Create events for them, like seminars on topics of their books. Schedule media interviews for them. Invite them to speak in your staff devotions or company activities, and see how the personal interaction will affect the way your staff will sell their books. Now, prepare to receive polished writers. When you've built credibility and are frequently recommended by your local authors, you're bound to meet diamonds who require minimum polishing. They're established in their field, they write well, they're organized, and they're prompt in meeting deadlines, and they chose you to publish their manuscript. They're dream authors, but their expectations are also high. So level up in the way you deal with them. Be ready when they come. And lastly, develop an author radar. Some authors shine brighter than others, and they shine for a certain time only. Readers are always looking for something new, either a new title from an author they like or a new author they might be interested in. So you have to keep on attracting and nurturing new ones. Be on the lookout for those who meet the criteria I shared in the first point. The message is the key. Has a message people need, influences a lot of people, knows other potential authors, and wants to leave a legacy. Now, producing locally written material takes more time and effort than reprinting or translating an international title. Working with local authors will test your relational skills to the limit and force you to learn by trial and error. But once you succeed in producing local titles that sell well, you look forward to working with your next batch of local authors. So when you spot potential, don't let it remain potential. Harness it. Learn to pick diamonds in the rough, and don't give up making them into jewels. And that ends my talk on attracting and nurturing the local authors you want. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in.
Thank you so much, Joy. That's really an excellent presentation.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure our audience have learned a lot, and they may have a lot of questions too. So I invite our audience, our participants, if you have any question to Joy, you can type them in the chat window.
Mm-hmm.
Or use the Q&A. So it's up to you. Those are two separate ways by which you could ask Joy some question. How do you deal with difficult authors?
What do you mean by difficult? Can you be more specific? I have many things going on in my mind right now.
Those who do not want to be edited, those who are quite have an air of pride. What do you do?
Difficult. That's a difficult question too. I'm trying to translate it to English. I have the Tagalog word, but I think it's really more of winning him or her over. You've got to find a soft spot and probably need to strike a friendship. Find out. I'm pretty sure the difficultness has something to do with doesn't trust you yet or sizing you up. You know, there are authors like that, and so either you need a go-between, somebody who is close to the author to be your representative, to speak for you.
Okay.
You cannot directly relate to the author first. You've got to find an intermediary who can relate to him better.
Okay.
That's what we do, right? That's the Filipino way.
Here's a question from.
Right?
Here's a question from Muthoni Mercy from Kenya. Hello, Joy. I'm happy to hear that in the new trends we can mix traditional publishing with non-conventional publishing. My question is if you can give more examples of perks we can give the local authors.
Perks. Well, we do have, I think, the discount. They like that a lot. The discount depends on how much you can give, but it should be really attractive to them. And because usually the authors, they offer in bulk. So the discount helps them do that. They avail of the discount right away. And then we also encourage them in their own events. Like they get the books at discount and then they could sell it at the regular price. So they earn, in a way, right away instead of waiting for the royalty. Because the royalty is based on the copies sold. And then we do it at the end of the year. So you have to wait a whole year. And then, but if you can get your books at the discount and then you sell it at the regular price, then the markup is already yours. So we give them that idea. So if the author is a speaker and is very active in events, he's more encouraged to sell the books.
Okay,
that's one way. And then of course, other perk is I think being treated VIP. It's like the express lane, and every time they put an order there, they know that they will be given priority. You don't keep them waiting. They like that. They like that a lot.
In the West, in the US, some authors, especially named authors,
yes,
would usually ask for advance, or it's this industry standard.
Oh, okay.
Do authors in the Philippines ask for advance, or you tell them that the royalties will come when the books are sold? How do you?
Oh my. Oh, that's I'm in the editorial kasi. Well, we cannot give an advance unless I don't think we have an author that big. The big name authors we have, it's not really what they get financially. It's
okay.
The prestige if they want to earn right away or they need something, we offer them a special price.
Okay.
For a certain quantity, something like that. Or we deliver it to their doorstep. They have all kinds of requests. That's just, I think there's an equivalent to the advance in the West.
Not necessarily giving the royalty in advance?
No, we don't
No.
give royalties because there's no money yet. So we tell them you can earn the same amount if they have to do their part.
Yeah.
We
They
go
have
to
to
this event, we bring the books there, or we give them this quantity, and then they sell it at a special price, and they still have a markup. Especially if it's a very big event, it's usually through the events that because they're really after the exposure of the book. It's not really what they earn.
Yeah.
It's getting their books exposed. That's why I don't know. The motivation is different here if we compare it to that advance.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard of it.
Okay. Other questions from our audience? You have any question? Any maybe challenges you're encountering as you develop? Yeah, or comments. Yeah, we would like to hear from you. Take advantage of Joy.
Yeah, you may disagree with me. It's okay. Our situation is different. It may not work in your place, or I'd like to know what's the difference between your local authors and your international authors.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard something different in Singapore. Maybe something to share also about that. Something like that.
Okay. Delia, Victor, will you be interested in getting authors from other Asian countries?
Yes, depending on the topic. And you see our target market, I always go back to the target market. Would the message of the author from another country appeal to the target market? I cannot really say so. It depends on what the author has to offer.
Okay. Anonymous attendee, when you decided to go the author partner route, which I understand is a kind of print-on-demand arrangement without benefit of your editorial process, have you encountered a book that somehow compromises CSM's principles? And if you did, how did you deal with it?
Okay, I just want to clarify. You're referring to the partner authors. These are self-published authors, and then they're looking for distributors. It's a different arrangement, and we didn't have any say in the editorial. Yeah, that's true. There have been books that, because we were not consulted in the editorial team, because it's really a marketing arrangement, not an editorial arrangement. Yeah. And we read the book, and I think it's really more of a judgment. It's a judgment call. That's where you can make mistakes, like, okay, so we closed the deal, and then you distributed the book. Now, the thing about it is because it doesn't have our name on it, really.
I see. So no CSM logo.
No CSM logo.
Okay.
So it's kind of safe. Like if they say, oh, CSM is distributing this, so we're recognized as a publisher, and they say, oh, look at this book. Did you agree with this? Why did you allow this? And then we would say, well, we are under a special arrangement. You direct your question to the author or to the publisher, because he's a self-published author. So that's probably the only time we have to say the reality of the arrangement, because they are identified with CSM. So sometimes we're put in that kind of a position, and we just say the official statement. We are the distributor, and then we also bear in mind, we take note of it, because sometimes you didn't know that there's something in the book that doesn't speak well of the publisher. It's usually not the content. It's sometimes the way it's edited. Kasi it would be brought to my attention. Say, we didn't edit this. Ganon. Usually, the content of a partner author is more for the general public. So it's not outrightly Christian.
Oh. Okay.
for the general public. But we do our background check. My boss, who does really the negotiating in that, he sees to it that the author, he can trust the author. The testimony is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if something slips through, then we just take note of it, and we decide later on if we will distribute the book again.
Okay. Muthoni, we will share Joy's email address later.
Ah, okay.
He's asking for
There you
your
go.
email address. Okay, thank you. Do you have good books for women?
Oh, that's that question.
That's a question from Belia.
Do we have good books for women?
Well, books titles for women.
Oh, yes, yes. Women are usually the
Book buyers.
to buy a book. Yeah, they're the primary buyers. Even men's title, the women will buy.
Yeah. Maybe you can also share your website, so they could also look at your website and see the titles that you have. Right?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. I cannot share the website address for now because it's under construction. But what I can share
I see.
is,
Okay.
we're overhauling it. So
Okay.
But we have a Facebook account.
Okay.
You can just type Church Strengthening Ministry there. That's our company name. You type that on Facebook, and you can ask your questions there, or look what's being promoted, what's current, what's new.
Yeah. Susan Binion is asking, can you say more about preserving the voice and mixing English with the local language? What kind of books lend themselves to this?
What kind of books? Okay, you mean that the
conversational, yeah.
The conversational Tagalog. Okay.
Yeah.
We are preserving the voice, meaning these authors are known for their messages. People listen to them. So they have a voice. That's why I put in quotation marks.
They have radio programs. They're well-known speakers, preachers.
They're that visible.
Okay.
So people are used to the way they sound. So they expect that the book would sound like the author. When they're reading it, it's like the author speaking to them. So that's what I meant by the voice.
Okay.
You don't edit it too much. You just take out all the repetitiveness, the incomplete sentences. You just make it more grammatically. It looks better on print, because when you speak, people don't notice your lapses, because you don't retain it. Not like if it's on print, you can see it for yourself, so you know if it's grammatically wrong or not. So that's how we retain the voice. And then you organize the thoughts, because sometimes the examples go far, they diverge. So you tone down that a bit. It's in the editing, the voice.
Okay.
And then what category? The topics of the author. Whatever is the topic of the author, that's the category, and they fall under usually, Christian living, sometimes finance. Depends on the topic. It's a different topic.
Charles,
depending on what the speaker is known for, the author is known for.
Yeah. Charles Woyer is asking, do you have people who want to become authors asking to be published by your publishing house? How do you handle this? Who come to you on their own? They come to you on their own. You are not.
Yes. That's not covered by my talk, because what my talk covered was those you want, right?
So you're the one looking for them, but
yes,
you're
you're
coming
pursuing
to you.
them. Yes. Now there are people who want you. Okay, so that's what we call the unsolicited authors. That's where they go to a process. We have a process like, I want to be published by you. I have this manuscript, so forth and so on. So we give them our guidelines.
Okay.
They have to undergo a process. You have to submit it in a certain way. and then you send it this way, you wait for the review. So they have to follow that. It's a different ballgame.
So you have to be ready with that guidelines. You have to come up
Yes.
with that guidelines on how can
we do that through
somebody
email. They have to go to the email. Sometimes they want to set an appointment. You want to see me in person. I say, no.
Okay.
I don't have to see you. Show me your manuscript. Do it the right way before we give you our attention. And then you have to wait for us. Because we have a publishing plan. Okay, we've got projects lined up since we did not, you're not in the plan. So you have to, wait for us to get to you.
So I think this is, you have to go through your presentation again. Where do you find your local authors? Do you do in church? Do you hold events or look for them actively?
Yes, all of the above.
All of the above. You
also
have
on the radar. You have to keep eyes and ears open.
Yeah. And you get referrals too, like one or two have been, satisfied and with how you treated them. So they refer. They
got
refer
it.
People.
That's it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that question, Charles.
Yeah, thank you. You reiterated what I said.
Mm-hmm.
You got that right. I know I said a lot. It takes a while to process. By 45 minutes, it's so much that I wanted to say. I already trimmed it down. So it takes a while.
Oh, Marlene Legaspi Manar said a good number of complimentary copies would be another author's perk.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, Marlene. It takes an author to tell you what counts, what value.
What would be a good author's perk.
True.
So Nathan is our good friend from Myanmar. Thank you, Joy. I'm so glad to see you again on webinar.
Hi, Mai.
God bless you and CSM.
God bless you too.
For partner authors, how big is your print run? Do you still give royalties to them?
No, it's a different arrangement because they finance the printing, remember?
Okay.
So we just handle the stocks.
You just handle the distribution.
Yes. The books came from them.
So no royalties. What about pricing? Do you have to agree with the pricing?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to agree.
Okay. Any other question? Thank you for this very good interaction. We're getting a lot of questions and we're happy to see our audience really participating and asking questions. And
yes, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember that it's already what time is it in the Philippines now? It's 11?
11, yeah.
Yeah, so it's time to sleep or to rest.
Well, for us here.
Thank you so much, Joy. Yeah, this has really been a very helpful webinar. Your topic is very interesting. It's close to the heart of MAI. We love to see the development and the nurturing of local authors. So your topic is really very relevant, and we hope you are all encouraged. You have a vision of how you're going to attract and nurture your own local authors in your respective countries. Be ready for the hard work, as Joy said. It's not as easy as just translating books from the West. So thank you so much for joining us tonight or this morning, and we hope to see you again. Oh, by the way, Joy, any parting words from you? Any last words?
Last words. It's been a pleasure sharing with you our story and experience of how we attracted and nurtured the local authors we now have. Takes a lot of hard work, that's true, before you get results. But the important thing is you do your homework. Learn to do your job well. You know your target market, learn to bend the rules, and build your credibility. Of course, what worked for us may not work for you because our situations are different. But don't be afraid to try new things and just learn from your mistakes. Figure out how to avoid them the next time so you can do better. But consider yourself blessed. Thank Media Associates International for bringing this webinar to you. Imagine it took us at CSM almost 20 years to establish our stable of local authors, but less than an hour for me to tell you how we did it. So with the tips and advice you've just heard, you may get to achieve what we did in a shorter period of time. That will be enough reward for me. So
Thank you so much. It's very
yes.
encouraging and so generous of you, Joy and CSM, for sharing the lessons you've learned over 20 years.
Yes. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me. That's my email address. I'll try my best to answer them. If you still want me to repeat what I shared, I don't have any printouts. Then I will.
I will share. Please send me the PowerPoint so I can also share.
Okay.
And this webinar is being recorded, so I will send the link to everyone who registered.
Okay.
So your email is editorial@csm-publishing.com. Okay. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Joy, for being a blessing to all of us today. Thank you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye for now. Lisa says congratulations.
Okay.
And thank you very much for sharing your jewels with us.